Even though the pandemic has taken all the attention since the beginning of 2020, some issues of the European Union have not disappeared from the top priority to deal with according to the EU citizens. Hello, my name is Irfan. I'm from Xinjiang, China, and I am based now in Italy. And I want to talk about one of the current top 10 EU issues, which is its defense. How does the European Union defend itself? How does its security work? When we talk about the EU defense, we necessarily need to talk about its Common Security and Defense Policy, CSDP, which has been developed since the Lisbon Treaty in 2009. The Common Security and Defense Policy enables the EU to take a leading role to peacekeeping operations, conflict prevention, and in the strengthening of the international security by the deployment of the military or civilian missions. Military missions are carried out by EU forces from the member state armed force, but not from an EU army as such. And consequently, the Common Security and Defense Policy fall under the jurisdiction of the European Council, an EU institution composed of the heads of state or government of all EU countries, the European Council President and the European Commission President. Therefore, the EU countries are bringing together their military structure and institutions and strengthening them in order to better integrate and act together. This goal is based on so-called Permanent Structure Cooperation, the PESCO, which was signed in 2017 by 25 of the EU member states. PESCO is a mechanism for capable and willing member states to deepen their cooperation on defense through concrete projects and commitments. PESCO projects are now in development in maritime, air, land, cyber, space, training, joint and enabling domain. In addition, each member state chooses which project to be involved and which one to lead. For example, European Secure Software Defined Radio ESSOR is a project for the development of common technologies for European military software-defined radio system to guarantee the interoperability and secure data communication between EU forces in joint operation on a variety of platforms. But coming back to the PESCO, the agreement was signed by 25 of the 28 EU member states at the end of 2017. Through PESCO, participating EU member states assume binding obligation and for the first time declare that they will work together and collaborate to improve their military capabilities. And what about NATO? Those European Union member states that are also NATO member states have all decided to join PESCO, with the exception of the United Kingdom and Denmark. And when it comes to European Parliament, it has to be highlighted that it has been a big supporter of the Common Security and Defense Policy, and of PESCO in particular. And this is really important because while the European Parliament's power are limited when it comes to issue of security and defense, it has a very important say on how the budget is spent, and that concerned defense. At the same time, the EU is further strengthening the professionalization of civil crisis management. In fact, by the end of 2020, the Council of EU, where the EU minister met, adopted conclusion on the civilian CSDP, reaffirming its commitment to strengthen the civilian branch of the Common Security and Defense Policy, agreeing to enhance civilian capacity through binding commitment. In the end, PESCO and Civilian Compact are two sets of actions aimed at firmly developing the Common Security and Defense Policy, and will make EU member states to unite their strength. In a world that is vulnerable to conflict, Europe should be prepared to improve our crisis response capability, and we must become a more mature union. We, as citizens, should have real allies which promote our common interest by engaging responsibly or working with others. Now it's up to us to put it into practice.